Okay, we're going to be moving on in our little video series on pronouns. And we're going to talk about something that's even confusing for experienced writers, and that's when we misuse the singular he and she. Okay? So we're going to talk about the different uses of when we misuse he and she, and we're going to learn some techniques to avoid the awkward use of he and she, and to be able to rewrite sentences so we can use them properly. Okay, so once again, I want you to read the section. We're going to talk about it in class, but I want you to read the section and be very careful when you read it, and follow along with the video so that I can point out the most important concepts to you, but I'm not going to cover it every single thing that's in the chapter that you're responsible for. Okay, I'm going to lead you through several examples that they have. It says down here, I'm just going to give you some examples. It says, whenever a person makes an investment, he should minimize sales commissions. Okay, so whenever a person, okay, here it's a singular. There's only one person, whenever a person. But we don't have all our singular pronouns are gender specific. It's he or she. We don't have what we call a neutered singular pronoun. All right? So we always want to, as English speakers, we always want to plug one of these in. And so they do. They plug in he. Whenever a person makes an investment, he should minimize sales commissions. That used to be proper back in the 1930s, 1940s, when we were a male-dominated society. But today, that's not proper. As a matter of fact, it's actually even rude, because we're assuming that the person that's smart enough to make investments is always a he. That's what we call sexist. And we want to definitely make sure we avoid that in our writing. So we can't use he. So you would have to rewrite, if you wanted to use a singular here, a person, whenever a person, you would have to rewrite this as he/she. He or she should minimize sales. And that's really awkward. We want to try to avoid that if at all possible, because that's awkward to read and write, but we have to have it there so that we are not only politically correct, but just so that we're respectful and we're actually using our language appropriately, because we don't know if person is a boy or a girl. So we can't use just he or just she. All right. So how do we avoid that mistake? There's a couple ways to do it. One is to write he or she, just like I did. And you can see that's awkward, but sometimes you have to. There's no way to avoid it. But let's see how they fix it here. Okay. So it says, and then right here, they say many people would find this objectionable or offensive. Okay. There are two ways of rewriting the sentence down here. Okay, one is to put like I did, whenever a person, singular, makes an investment, he or she, and you can, and many people put he/she. Okay, they don't put the or there, but he or she should minimize sales commissions. The antecedent, or the thing that the reference that these pronouns refer to, is person. Person is singular, only one person, therefore he or she has to be used. Okay, that's awkward. Like I said, nobody wants to read a whole paper with he or she in it. So many people rewrite this, and they rewrite it by making it plural. Okay, so when they rewrite it, they're going to say, oops, sorry, one sec. Okay, when they rewrite this, they're going to rewrite it like this: when people first use computers. So now it's plural. There's no longer singular. Now they can use the generic neutered pronoun they, because they can be for both men and women. People, when people first use computers, they tend to be completely overwhelmed. This is probably a little bit more sophisticated way of rewriting it. And it doesn't sound awkward. So if you want to use they, the pronoun, then you have to use, it has to agree in number with the antecedent, okay, with the noun that it refers to. So people is plural, therefore they can be plural. That's what we have to make sure. We have to make sure that our pronouns agree in number with their antecedent. The antecedent, the term antecedent, which antecedent simply means the noun that comes before the pronoun. Okay, you have to name the noun before the pronoun, and that's the antecedent. All right, so it says, of the two solutions, the second alternative is usually better, even though it requires more sentence revisions. The option with he or she often seems clumsy. So when people are reading or writing. Okay, second problem is using he or she in a way that stereotypes occupations. And this is the same thing. Let's find a pilot and see what he says. We're assuming that pilot is a he, all right? There are female pilots, and we can't use he there properly. And then same thing goes with this one. Let's find a nurse. Everyone thinks, oh, a nurse must be a she. That's not true either. There are men nurses, and there are women pilots, and there are women doctors, and there are men hairdressers. Okay, so we have to use those singular pronouns, and we shouldn't stereotype occupations. So we want to change those up. You would have to say what he or she says. Okay, or you could pluralize pilots, or you can't pluralize pilots. So let's see how they fix it. It says the use of he or she, of he in the first example and she in the second, implies that all pilots are males and all nurses are females. Some people find this objectionable. Again, we can solve the problem by using the compound he or she. All right, let's find a pilot and see what he or she says. Let's find a nurse and see what he or she says. It says, however, since he or she compound is awkward, a better solution would be to rewrite the sentences to avoid the pronoun altogether. And this is interesting because you can't pluralize pilot because you still only want one pilot. So this is a little more difficult to rewrite. It says, let's see what a pilot would say. Okay, instead of let's find a pilot. It says, let's see what a nurse would say. So you can actually rewrite those and avoid the use of he or she completely. Okay. That's a good solution. So it was a little more difficult to think of, but so you can rewrite like that. So there's a couple ways of rewriting that. Okay, let's take a look further. In this exercise, it says rewrite the following sentences to avoid the inappropriate use of he and she. Do not use the compound he or she in your answers. So when you rewrite these sentences, I do not want you to write he or she. That is not okay because usually it's clumsy, and we want to avoid that. So we want to either pluralize the noun, or if the noun cannot be pluralized, we want to make sure that we can say it in a way where we can avoid this usage right here. All right? So let's take a look at the example that they give. It says every employee must wash his hands before returning to work. Once again, we're assuming that all employees are boys. That's not really cool. So how do we rewrite that? Well, this is an easy one to pluralize. All employees must wash their hands. And then I can use the plural. Okay? So go ahead and you're going to rewrite these sentences. And I do want you to rewrite them completely. So be aware of that. I don't want you to just scratch. I want you to rewrite the sentences completely. So don't take shortcuts and just scratch and put the correct answers there. All right, so go ahead. You have 15 of them to do, not overly difficult. And once again, if you have questions, please come before school or before class, and I will help you out. Or you can even stay after school if you let me know. I'll stay for you and help you out. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.